so we thought just to make it easier for everyone, we would put together a sort of PowerPoint presentation. I know they're very boring at times, but we just wanted to be able to give out concise messages as much as possible. We are meeting today in the lands of First Nations people, in my case in particular, the Wurundjeri lands of the Kulin Nation. In Australia, this land was stolen and sovereignty was never ceded, and we'd like to pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging, and to any other First Nations people joining us today, and also all LGBTIQA+ First Nations people who have paved the way for us on this land. I would encourage you to, if you know the lands of the people that you're on, to put that in the chat. Or just reflect for a moment on that information. So the mental health supports that are available, they're listed on our website, www.standbyus.com. So if you do need to reach out for help, these resources are really useful and valuable, and we strongly encourage you doing that. All right, so confidentiality, just a reminder on this. Please do not disclose anyone's identity from this conference unless explicit permission has been given. We do not want people to be outed. You are free to talk about the contents of the events, comments made by people, but not attributing those comments back to those people who made them. So if you say, oh, a really useful question was raised in this session, and talk about it in that way, that's fine. Do not say, Rebecca raised this great question in this session, because then we run the risk of breaching confidentiality. So Sally Sally is going to do all the thank yous.
In the words of that of a 70, well, I don't know if they were by, but anyway, in the words of a 70s icon, Aussie Ostrich, it's nice to say thank you. And we would like to seriously very much say thank you, toda, spasiba, gracias, grazie, to the Victorian Department of Premier and Cabinet for the Pride Events and Festivals Funds, which helped support us, the Sydney Local Health District, the organising committees of various events and organisations, all the special guests and panellists for their great contributions, Carly Zahira for the Stand By Us website, marketing templates and draft media releases, a lot of great communication skills, proving, of course, that bi people are multi-skilled and multi-talented. Andrew Levantini for the calendar design. In case you haven't seen the printed version, we'll just, actually, I'm not sure if people can see it, but there it is. And the Big Bi Bonanza crew, and just really everyone, Bi+ people and allies, for attending and making it so huge, just amazing. And I just also want to say that I am on Wurundjeri land, in particular acknowledge my local peoples, the Bolan peoples, where I am. In a bizarre way, never thought we'd say it, but we, in a way, have to thank COVID-19 for making this a feasible project by getting us together to connect, both for the short-term needs of connection for Bi+ communities and for the longer term. It has really brought the Australia and New Zealand communities together, and I'm allowed to say it like never before, because I'm a middle-aged chook in a pansexual or something like that. We do want to thank Zoom and Otter.ai for our technology that helped us connect. We thank the NBN in Australia for making online activities easier. Also, as a veteran queer, if we had tried to do this in 1995 on dial-up, I think we'd have been in big trouble. And everyone who promoted the conference, interviewed us and helped us reach you. Lots of community media around Australia and New Zealand and the world, and lots of people all around the world who spread it throughout their networks. And, well, finally, thank you to so many people who have come before us, the Bioneers. We had to do a pun, because we wouldn't be walking now, and without them we won't fly in the future. We stand on the shoulders of giants and reach higher and higher, and it has been a wonderful thing to build on those wonderful achievements of those gone by, the Bi+ people all around the world, past and present, and we move into the future.
For those who are unaware, the first Australian National Bisexual Conference happened in 1992. So these are some of our Bioneers who are at that conference. And they came up with a number of resolutions at that conference, which are still valid today. And I think that I'll let you read through them. But I think it's really, important to remember that the discussions we have continue, and they will probably be continuing for a while, particularly in relation to biphobia from within and without the rainbow community, and that people can choose the labels that work for them best. At the time, there was a particular focus on HIV and AIDS. And sorry, this has come across from a photo to text, so there are a couple of typos. But yes, particularly that the share of the resources for HIV and AIDS prevention, education and support for the bisexual community and their partners actually be directed towards bisexual groups in the community, something that has still not happened. That we should be funded to work with and for our communities, and that we be consulted, that we be engaged by government and other organisations, and that the word bisexual be included in educational material, campaigns, media, etc. Something that, again, we're in 2020 are still campaigning for. So yes, a lot of stuff happened, and a lot of stuff is still to happen, and these resolutions, I think we can hold to them today to continue driving our community forward. Sally, would you like to introduce Janet?
It would be, as always, an honour and a pleasure to introduce our closing plenary speaker, who, well, I can't say needs no introduction, but even if she doesn't need it, she's going to get one because she hugely deserves it. She's, of course, a proud out Bi+ person, a leader in LGBTIQA+ issues for our Parliament. We also, of course, I feel we need to honour her partner who left us a year ago, Penny Wetton, a wonderful trans woman and scientist, amongst many other amazing qualities, and their contributions to true inclusivity and diversity, including in our rainbow communities, are enormous. And it just really, well, we've gone to the top. We've gone to a bi-parliamentarian. Everyone hit those applause reactions and all the rest of it to please give a big welcome to Senator Janet Rice.
Hey, thank you so much, Sally, and thank you all of you, and what an amazing job having organised this conference. And I'm so privileged to have been invited to to talk with you as a part of this closing plenary. I'm here today with my cat Trieste, who seems to really enjoy the fact that I've been working from home for the last 6 months. And she's been to Parliament, she's been to Senate inquiries, and many Zoom meetings like this. So I'm not sure whether she'll stay on my shoulder the whole time, but we'll see. I also, of course, want to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land that we are all on, regardless of where we are around the world and around Australia. For me, I'm on Wurundjeri country here in Melbourne's west, my home in Footscray. And I really want to pay respect and honour the elders of this country, past, present and emerging, and all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people around the world, around the country. And to remember the injustices that have happened, and to commit to standing beside First Nations peoples in their journey for justice. I also want to acknowledge any First Nations peoples who are with us today, and to acknowledge that, and to know that your culture lives on despite the impacts of colonisation. And I think it's really important for all of us to keep that in mind, whether we're working, playing, learning or gathering, that we are doing it on stolen lands, and commit ourselves to be working for justice. It is wonderful to have seen how successful this Stand By Us conference is and our celebrations of Bi Week. And it's a really important week for the LGBTIQ+ community and for me personally as a proud bisexual woman. Bi Week, of course, it's an opportunity for us to recognise the diversity of Bi+ people within Australia, and I know you've been doing lots of that all week, and to celebrate that. And this event has provided opportunities to recognise the incredible contributions that bisexual role models and activists have made. And it's also provided a space for the broader community to engage with Bi+ challenges, celebrations and lessons. So as I said, it is a real honour to have been asked to give the closing address to the conference. For many of us, myself included, bisexuality expresses our capacity to love or to be attracted to people of many or all genders. So, no matter how we label ourselves, whether we are bisexual, bi-curious, pansexual, polysexual, sexuality fluid, queer, or something else, we should be proud of this, because there is no one way to experience bisexuality or to be bi+. And I can assure you that my own journey as a bisexual person is a reflection of this. I mean, for a large part of my adult life, I thought of myself as heterosexual. But yes, a heterosexual who every so often found women attractive. But, I was happily married. And so that seemed totally irrelevant to me. I just put it out of my mind. I love my spouse and that was that. And it really wasn't until my wife, Penny, transitioned that I took the opportunity to reflect on my sexuality and realised that, hey, I actually wasn't a straight woman, but a bisexual one. And I remember there was one pivotal moment of that realisation. It was when Penny and I were out dancing, and it was before her social transition, and she was only presenting as Penny part-time. Our children called her Hey Penny at the time. And Penny was really worried that if she transitioned fully, that it was going to totally destroy our relationship. And that's what she wanted to avoid at all costs. And she told me that if that was the case, then she would put her gender identity right back in the box where it had been for most of her life and repress her identity as Penny. And as we were dancing that night, and I realised that not only did I still love Penny, but I loved her as Penny, and I found her attractive as Penny. And it's really like, the clouds parted and I could finally see myself clearly. And I realised that, hey, I'm bisexual. And so then after Penny transitioned and we reaffirmed our loving relationship to the world by happily staying together, one of my friends actually described me as an accidental lesbian. And although humorous and well-meaning, it's not accurate because I'm bisexual. And I think her labelling me as such, it's really typical of the ignorance about and the invisibility of bi people. And I reflect on my own lack of awareness of bisexuality. I mean, I identified as being heterosexual right up until Penny's transition, despite these experiences of being attracted to women as well as men. But it basically because being bisexual wasn't in my field of view. I mean, I was in a monogamous, seemingly heterosexual relationship. So therefore, I was heterosexual. And the heteronormativity of our society, of course, helped that along no end. So I was able to fit myself into the heterosexual box, which is where so-called normal, ordinary, socially acceptable people were. So, why go any further than that? And so if there's anybody here who can relate to my story, whose sexuality or attraction is in a space of transition or being uncovered in some way at this stage, I'd like to extend and offer some advice from one late stage bi to another. I mean, you might be feeling excited or nervous or both, and you might have a case of what I call bi imposter syndrome. But please note that that's okay. If my experience is anything to go by, you're likely being faced head on with the narrow ideas still that our society puts forward of sex and gender. And they are just so rife, and it makes it so hard to embrace our full selves. And everything you're feeling is absolutely valid. So try to ride this wave with as much openness and compassion for yourself as you can muster. I mean, it isn't always easy, but every step that you take towards embracing all the facets of your capacity to love and be loved, the closer you can get to a brighter life and a more solid sense of self. And remember that you don't have to fit into anyone else's limited understanding of sexuality to be a part of the Bi+ community. It's okay to have a realization about your sexuality later in life. It's okay if it just sort of creeps up on you out of nowhere when you meet a person who expands your understanding of yourself. This is just as valid as any other experience of love or attraction. And in fact, I actually think it's pretty beautiful. And although we've made great strides in the acceptance and the rights of LGBTIQ+ people, we know that harmful stereotypes of bisexuality persist, and there are still deep prejudices against people who identify within the Bi+ umbrella. And it's important to acknowledge that biphobia is experienced more acutely by some Bi+ people than others. Hello, Trieste. And in particular, trans and gender diverse people and cisgender men cop more abuse for expressing their bisexuality, which can affect their ability to lead an openly bisexual life. And this is particularly the case for bisexual young people. And research has shown again and again that the mental health of Bi+ people is significantly poorer than heterosexual, gay or lesbian people. And bisexual people report deep feelings of isolation, anxiety, distress, and self-doubt. And of course, we also know that biphobia and bi-erasure lead to discrimination against bisexual people from both heterosexual communities and lesbian and gay communities. And this is not okay, and it needs to change. And the fact that we are all here, visible in all of our diverse glory, celebrating being bi, asserting our presence, creating connections and investing in our community is in itself an incredible display of resilience and power. And it's something that I could never have imagined all those years ago when I was questioning everything that I thought I knew about my sexuality. At this time last year, I gave a speech to the Senate to mark Bi Week, and it was uploaded online. And in the following weeks, my office was absolutely inundated with emails, with phone calls, with Facebook messages from Bi+ people all over the country, and in fact all around the world. It was shared left, right, centre, everywhere. It was really lovely to receive all those kind words, but it made me realise how rare it is to see out, proud Bi+ public figures, because we bisexuals are still much less visible than our gay and lesbian counterparts. There are far fewer visible role models for young people exploring their sexuality. I am the only out bisexual MP in any parliament in the country. And I mean, I'm pretty chuffed with that title, and I'm pretty proud of that's the case, but I would actually really love to see that change. And in fact, I'm pretty sure I am not the only bisexual MP in the country. So we also need more representation in mainstream media of the full array of bisexual identities, so that Bi+ people can feel accepted and supported to come out, to live openly, and to not feel pressure to suppress their sexuality in any way. I mean, bi visibility, it has to happen in the parliament, in the media, and from leaders right throughout society. And of course, it can be demonstrated by all of us. Every one of us can make a difference to the lives of present and future Bi+ people by being as open and as out and as proud as it's safe for each of us to be. And that's not necessarily, you know, being completely out. For some people, that's not going to be where they're at the moment, but just to be as out and proud as you feel safe and comfortable to be, because that's what's going to open people's eyes. That's how acceptance is going to grow, and that's how society shifts. So regardless of how large or small your acts of pride are, I really want to take this opportunity to say, I see you. I see you even where others don't. And I will continue to share our stories and advocate for our rights inside and outside the Parliament. You are all amazing, resilient, and a constant inspiration to me. So happy Bi Week to you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Janet. Your words are incredibly moving and validating. And I noticed many people were quite touched by them as I was looking around the screen while you were speaking. Really appreciate you being available to speak to us today.
Oh, it's so beautiful to have been able to be here.
Yeah, just also, Janet, excuse me, thank you for everything that you do. With the YouTube link to your Celebrate Bi Day speech went into our chat, but also, when we finally did get the result of that unnecessary survey through, the reality that you mentioned Bi+ first in your speech when the debate came to Parliament in November 2017, after we had felt let down on so many angles, was just so affirming, and thank you for your visibility as well. It is just a pleasure to have you, and we'll find some people to be out and keep you company, I'm sure, in due course.
That's right. It's just a matter of time, and I know that we're going to get there. So, yep. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Rebecca, back to you.
Back to me. Thank you again, Janet. Thank you, everybody, for being here to hear that speech. That was really lovely. So if James can share his screen again, the next thing, which naturally flows on from Janet's words, is how we remain connected post the conference. So we have a number of people from various community groups who are going to quickly speak on what they do, where to find them, and yeah, over to you, Ruby.
Okay, hi everybody, my name is Ruby and I'm the Education Officer for Melbourne Bisexual Network. We're based here in Melbourne and we're made up of mental health and advocacy professionals. And we work to raise awareness of health and wellbeing issues faced by bisexual plus people and to determine strategies to improve health, wellbeing and development of bisexual plus people in education, community and therapeutic services. I think it's worth checking us out because people who have contributed to our community have, it talks about there's a huge sense of personal and professional satisfaction in being able to contribute meaningfully, whether it's through volunteering when we have events or through just coming to meetings and hearing what's happening on the agenda, connecting to queer community in a setting which is not a party, but not solely centered on trauma, but an experience and skills and support in governance, in boards, in presentation. And but also I think the biggest thing that you can really get from getting in touch with us is that we will try to connect you with community, whether it's through Facebook groups or other discussion groups, but also you'll find that the people who are part of MBN, and I think part of all of these organizations, we're pretty good people, I like to think anyway, insofar as being able to feel like you have people who understand you. And I think, like a lot of us here, maybe often you don't really know that you don't really know what you're missing until you find it when it comes to Bi+ community. And I think the idea of a community like this would never have occurred to me until we found it. And I really encourage people to get in touch. You can reach out on melbournebisexualnetwork.com or you can email us at melbournebinetwork@gmail.com. And I think someone mentioned my earrings. My earrings are of David Bowie as the Goblin King in Labyrinth. I thought that was appropriate for today. But yeah, please do reach out and get in touch, and we'll do what best we can to support you and help you connect.
So I am talking about Bi+ Community Perth. We are over in Perth, Western Australia. So we are about 2 hours behind the East Coast. We are the largest group of Bi people in Perth, and we also have people from around the country as well as internationally. As we know, connection and belonging are vital to wellbeing, and that's one of the main reasons why the group was established. So it offers a space for people to feel safe to be their authentic selves And for many people, it's probably the first time that they've actually come into contact with other bi people. And many when they first come are not out to many people in their lives. And we just had a message from someone yesterday who posted and said they came out to their sister, the first person they've ever come out to is bi, and that was really wonderful. And I have a feeling that, you know, being part of the group had something to do with that. So we have a Facebook group and it's up there. Feel free to join. There are 3 questions that you need to answer, but you know, I'm sure you'll pass with flying colours. We also put on social events, as well as we have a monthly Zoom event, and one of the events was that Zoom event at this conference. And we also put on educational workshops, and that was another event as well, the binary busting workshop. I'll just leave it there. We also have our email address as well listed.
Bisexual Alliance Victoria Incorporated, we formed a little bit over 10 years ago. We were going to have a big 10th birthday celebration, but then this whole plague thing happened and that made it a bit difficult. But yeah, we formed for a lot of reasons, but the monthly Melbourne Bi discussion group, which yesterday turned 15, we had an international discussion group to mark, just as part of the Stand By Us conference, but also it just happened to be the 15th birthday of the discussion group itself. And Sally Goldner was running Victorian Bi Activism, which was sort of a news collection of interesting links and stuff that had come up in the news, and we decided let's join forces to make sure that whenever bisexuality or multigender attraction of any kind came up in the news, that there'd be somebody who would say, hello, we've got stuff to say about this. And we also became advocates and started really pushing for change in a lot of institutions. We had a couple of baptisms of fire early in our time, but our main activity at the moment is we do the monthly discussion group. It's been on hiatus because of lockdown, but after last night, we've decided that we're probably going to keep going with an online event for the time being. So if you can follow us on Twitter or Facebook, or come to our website, or send us an email, you'll be able to get some more information on that. We also do organise social events and other things occasionally. We'll quite often do something for Celebrate Bisexuality Day. We had something else on this year, so we didn't do our own event for it this year, but we've had picnics and stuff like that in the past. And we also, in January, we do the combined Bi-Poly picnic here in Melbourne, which is lovely. So if you just like to meet other people, find some support, find some community, we're good people to say hello to. So hope to hear from you.
Hi folks, my name's Amber. I'm zooming in from the lands of the Watamatagal clan of the Darug Nation, and I organize with the Sydney Bi+ Network. So I like to describe the Sydney Bi+ Network as a bit of a resurgence of the Bi+ advocacy and activism that was happening in so-called Sydney back in the 90s. And today is actually our second Bi Earth Day. We launched 23rd of September 2018. So that's actually really, really exciting. We do a few different things, all dedicated to improving the well-being of Bi+ people. We focus on community building, we do some advocacy, and we also do education. So we've got a little bit of something for everyone. So our email is up on the slide. You can find us at sydneybi+network.org, and you can also find us on social media. So we'd really, really love to connect with you. You don't have to be based in Sydney to connect with us. We've got folks all over New South Wales, and we're completely volunteer run, and we're always looking for more folks who want to get involved and get engaged. So please, please get in touch. Thanks.
Hi. So KSA is a community organisation owned by Gail and Lizette here in South Australia. It's a Bi+ social group. It is owned by TTLLPC, which is a human rights company, and at the moment is setting up regular, as in monthly events for either Bi+ or trans or I think Bi+ identifying folk. At the moment, they're connected in with Befriend, which is also part of the Uniting Communities group. And so that's where South Australia's at the moment. Back to you, Beck.
Yes, this is a private practice, and I guess some of the presentations that have been presented at this conference that I presented were developed in that space. And so that so Essendon Counselling Solutions is, I guess, one of very few services that promotes itself as a relationship counselling service for bi people in poly relationships or not ethical non-monogamous relationships. Yeah, all the details are there. So Thorne Harbour Health is a community-led program, has been around since the late 90s as a funded community service, and we have services, community services, everything from peer support programs for people living with HIV, as well as alcohol and other drugs programs, general counselling services, family violence services, and these are services to all people from the LGBTI community. And yeah, so all the details are there, and people can, yeah, definitely Thorne Harbour Health in the last couple of years has been more sort of bi conscious in terms of their delivery of services. That you know, I don't know, I've got to be careful around saying who's bi inclusive and who's not, but Thorne Harbour Health have definitely taken steps to welcome and really embrace the bi community and respond to the needs of bi people. So yeah, all the details are there.
So yes, I'm Bridget. I live in Mindjin, or so-called Brisbane, and we have started the Brisbane Bi Network just about 6 months ago. So very, very new. And at the moment, what we're doing is monthly meetups. We managed to have one before the world started to turn a bit different. And that was really lovely. And actually on Saturday, we're going to be having a picnic for Brisbane Bisexual Visibility Day, sorry. So if you're in Mindjin in Brisbane, we would love to have you. We also, I forgot to put there that we also have an email address if you're not on Facebook or Instagram, and it's just brisbanebinetwork@gmail.com. And yes, we would love to have you come along. Please do. Thank you.
There is a whole range of other Bi+orgs in Australia and New Zealand, and it's been great that we've had so many people from, as far as I can tell, a large number of parts of Australia and New Zealand, and we look forward to the bi infiltration of all parts of all lands. So including the Bi and Pan social group in Aotearoa, and the address there on Facebook, Bi and Pan Social NZ. Biconic, who did the fabulous event on Saturday night, of course, biconic.events, an all-inclusive party and event organisation for Bi+ and allies, and that was sensational. Bi+ Oceania, who are there as well, and I think it's a good point to say that we wanted to make this perhaps beyond Australia and New Zealand, but lack of time. But next year we will cover more of Oceania and make it cover more and be more inclusive. ILGA, part Oceania and ILGA World. So it's a number of member federations and sort of continuing to advocate for Bi+ people. And I would like to take this opportunity to welcome someone who's worked very hard for Bi+ people in Europe from the Netherlands. Hilda is on the call or the Zoom. Thank you so much for being here, Hilda. It means a lot to have your connection all the way on the other side of the world, and probably in some hopefully caffeinated time zone in the Netherlands. We have the New Zealand Non-Binary and Women's Rainbow Connection by PAN on Facebook there. We have the Wellington Bi Women's Group, and we had so much sort of connection throughout many of the events with the group, people on it, and declaring, well, any bias. I think they're a good organisation. Transgender Victoria said the Bi+ and Bi Pan and trans person who loves to bust the binaries, who have been supportive as well. So yeah, so much going on, and I really have to say personally how much it meant to hear that connection from Janet in relation to Bi+ and trans. We'll keep busting those binaries.
Hi folks. I'm just going to say a quick little word about surveys. If you've attended events this week, it's possible that you will be sent a survey to fill out. Please, please, please take the time to fill that out. That's how we get your feedback, and that's how we can make all of our events and this conference even better. They're short, they're sweet. We want your feedback. Thank you so much.
Okay, conference highlights. It has been an amazing 6 days so far. There are some things happening on the weekend for people who can go to actually meet in person. I'm very jealous here in Melbourne. Misty was going to talk about day one highlights.
I am. Hi, folks. So day one was incredible from my perspective because I was involved in the opening plenary event. It was very exciting and a little bit nerve-wracking. We had an event that ran across the length of the conference, which was called Bi Seen, Bi Heard, which was an online Facebook space that ran for the length of the conference. And we had people sending in various artistic pieces throughout that. And so, yes, the opening plenary was on Friday. We had Dr. Vanessa Lee do an acknowledgement of country for Australia and New Zealand. It was a beautiful acknowledgement, and we were all particularly tickled by how casually she kind of came out as bi, and how comfortable she was about doing that in such a public forum. We opened the conference, or Commissioner Roe Allen opened the conference. They are the Commissioner for LGBTIQA+ folk in Victoria, and they have, that's the only place in the region that has a position like that. So it was really lovely to have Roe open our conference as an ally, and a really strong ally to the Bi+ community. And then Duke and I from Bi+ Community Perth did an interview with Sherry Eisner, and fanboyed completely over that. Well, I did. The author of Bi Notes for a Bisexual Revolution, and gave us quite a few interesting things to think about in terms of intersectionality and other calls to action around bi activism. We had the first of the social meetups, which were super wholesome from all accounts. And so on day one, people were sharing stories and images of their pets. And that kind of continued throughout the conference, let's be honest about that. And finally, the art of bisolation, which brought together performers that made us laugh and cry, often at the same time. It's been recorded, so it's possible to watch it again, and hopefully we will be able to share that with you soon. Thank you all very much to the performers for that.
So day two presented a lovely mix of social, serious and celebratory. The two social events today were a craft meetup, talking about working with materials to create tangible forms of expression. And there's another one, a computers or gaming group, who talked to the fun found in the more elusive and sometimes the competitive form of connection. Both of these had more than a few things in common, and they presented an opportunity for social connection through combining imagination with action, exploration, and play. The panel opened a more serious space for further discussion, reflection among 4 panel members, and the exploration on the topic of pansexuality. That finished in very good time, allowing for an incredible turnout at the Biconic Saturday night event, which was a celebration of people, personality, perspective. And I did hear that there were more than a few people that did not tuck in for an early night that night. But day 3 moved ahead nonetheless. Amber has that for us.
Day 3 was packed with so much incredible Bi+ content. We kicked the day off with a really, really lovely virtual cuppa run by Bi+ Perth. That one actually ran an hour past the ending time because everyone was having such a great time. And those spaces are always so incredible to just connect and check in with one another. Anthony ran a really great session on day 3, focused on polyamory and the politics of attachment bonding, which I know so many people learned an incredible amount from. So thanks so much, Anthony. We also had the Sydney Bi+ Network event, Bylines, which really featured Bi+ folks from all different backgrounds, sharing their stories, really reminding us that our stories are worthy of being heard and they're worthy of being cherished. Bylines also reminded us so strongly that all of our oppressions are interlinked and we've got to take intersectional approaches across all of the work that we do. We also had social catch-ups on day 3. There was one about books and one about gardening, and there was lots and lots of recommendations shared and lots of shared knowledge. Day 3 ended with Bi+ improv games, which was absolutely hilarious. It was a group of really funny people being really silly and just having an incredible time. Over to day 4.
This is you, Sally.
It's me. This is a bit like, it's sort of Australian bi vision. It's sort of hello Perth, hello Brisbane, and hello Zagreb. No, something like that. Yeah, so Anthony, as one of the many parts of his knowledge, spoke about sexual consent and the more challenging issue of sexual assault in Bi+ and queer men's relationships. Yours truly, Rebecca and Bridget, strapped on our ranty pants and became ranty pans perhaps, and spoke about the effects of the Marriage Equality Survey and effects on Bi+ and other rainbow and intersectional communities. But dare I say, we released our frustration in my best Dr. Phil voice, but some good things are going to come out of it, which we'll get to. Someone who's just been a fantastic contributor to the Bi+ communities over many, many years, Dr. Maria Paolotta Cicciaroli, spoke about designing sexual health strategies and negotiation that happens in relationships based on her fab book, one of many women in relationships with bisexual men, bi men, bi women. There had to be a part. Anthony, back on the job again, an excerpt from the Bi and Mighty program run by Thorne Harbour. Boulder took off and had Bi+ people from all around Australia and New Zealand and many other parts of the world, which has just been such a wonderful part of the connection of the conference. Talking about being Bi+ and older, it went over time because everyone shared their story, felt comfortable to do so, and was just beautiful. And the final themed social event, there was probably talk about pans because it was about cooking, and it was just a lovely intimate chat about food and cooking. So a packed Monday, that's a Monday I could look forward to when most times I don't. Over to our next presenter. Hello, whoever it is.
So yes, yesterday when we were getting toward the end of it, and we were all very at that interesting mixture of extremely hyped but also extremely worn out and sort of dreading the end of the conference while also looking forward to it, as you do with these sorts of things. Bioneers was a panel talking about mainly for people who were members of communities and community organisers, just talking about how to avoid reinforcing binaries and how to break them and free yourself from the binaries. So Stand By Your Bi was another serious session dealing with serious stuff, talking about personal stories and sharing advice for how to access family violence services and ways in which those services could be better, and getting people to share their personal stories about that as well. play-by-play was all about sport and Bi+ people because, you know, we're just like regular people. Some of us play sport, as you can tell by my physique. So yeah, there was a lot of discussion in that about both the negative things that have happened, but also positive experiences and how things are changing and the really positive ways in which things are getting better and the community's doing better. And finally, we finished off the night with the first ever international edition of the long-running Melbourne Bisexuality discussion group, the 15th birthday, as I mentioned, which was amazing. I mean, while we had planned this to be an Oceania event, and we did have a few people from New Zealand as well as Australia, we had someone from Belgium, we had someone from Singapore, had someone from the UK. It was incredible, and it was really positive and wonderful. And this community is amazing. I'm always reminded of just what a great bunch of people you are. So thank you for being here.
And today on Celebrate Bi+ Day or Bi+ Biz Day, we started off with a workshop on community organizing and social change, where we explored tools that we can use in community organizing and how we can actually find our roles in social change. So we had a really great discussion about our own experiences in community organizing, some of the challenges that we've faced and how we've tried to overcome them. And we also had a really lovely chat about exploring all of the many different ways people can actually be involved in social change. So I actually thought it was a really, really phenomenal and powerful way to start my Bi+ Biz Day. And there's more to come. So at 7:30 p.m. tonight, we're having a virtual dinner party. The link's in the chat. Bring something along to eat and spend some more time hanging out with this phenomenal, phenomenal Bi+ community.
So let's bring it all together. I just think that if we had to pull it all together, there was just this huge sense of feeling affirmed. We all, I think, sadly know how we've felt erased or demeaned, and finally there was this huge rock solid foundation of feeling affirmed and safe, and it led to us being powerful. We had that foundation and could build on it, and that in turn led to a combination of vulnerability. We heard so much of that in some of the panel discussions and discussion groups. Creativity and lateral thinking, proving that when you bust binaries, you can, shatter all those unnecessary boundaries. Reconnection or / connection, I think I could have added in there. And I think so much healing for so many people, or at least the start of that process. I think there's been so many doors that have opened for collaboration way beyond the conference. I know for myself on the Standby Your Bi conference panel, there's been people wanting to learn more about how to be bi-inclusive for their health services and so on. And linking back, there is connection through past, present, into future. There's been thoughts of restarting some sort of, I'll only speak for Australia here, a national Bi+, whether we call it collective organisation structure, obviously at the very broadest brushstroke at the moment. But in the words of because I have to throw in a World Wrestling Entertainment reference into any presentation I do, in the words of John Cena's theme song, our time is now.
Hi everybody, Neen Chapman here. We are going to actually produce a report from this beautiful conference, and we have been taking time for the sessions that have been recorded to edit them, and we'll be popping them up on the YouTube channels. So we really hope that you can stick around and be patient with us, because it may take until about the end of October. We're also putting, oh no, I've just said that. What we've done though is we've tried to do captions for most of our sessions, and those will actually also go on the Stand By Us website. Some initial statistics. Over 600 audience members attended 29 events over 8 days. 3 events are coming on this weekend in person, as we've already said, and I'm jealous too. Over 10 plus I'll start that again. Over 10 Bi+ organisations from Australia and New Zealand involved in organising this event. We had audiences from all states and most territories of Australia, from New Zealand, and from the following countries. And we're really, really chuffed by this: United Kingdom, the United States of America, Belgium, Singapore, Canada, and India.
Sally.
The time is here. My goodness, as you'd expect, given the nature of our community, the competition was immensely strong. There were so many amazing nominations. And of course, Janet mentioned a couple even in her speech, but sort of Hey Penny, and there was Go By, which is not just a desert somewhere in Asia, all sorts of things. A geographical pun, there we go.
I'd just like to say that I really hope we do get a short list before we get the winner.
A short list. All right. Well, let me just click on various screens at my end. Well, look, there's a short list, that we had. I wish we had more. We should, of course, thank Melbourne's wonderful queer bookstore, Hares and Hyenas, who are providing this voucher to $100 Australian, and their support, and they're sort of battling along as we all are in this pandemic, but they're still there, and they're just so much a part of our community and are so inclusive. So a few nominations from Pappy at Biconic. I don't always want to come out, I'm shy-sexual. That's a fair one. We had, and I've got to, as much as, if the judge's decision is final and no correspondence will be entered into, but I do have to give a mention to James. Bisexuals can cross freely from one side of the fence to the other because we have style. Have to think about that one. We had, I think it's Hannah on panel, who was so pun-sexual. We had Aoife, a pandemic is here, I'll show myself out. But I do have to give a winner, so do some sort of drum rolly type of thing. In the middle break of the Art of Bi-isolation, the fabulous then Fatale started talking, and therefore the winner goes to Shana, who commented that it was intermissionary. And I think that one just really tickled me a lot. So there is our winner, Shana, and I'm not sure if Shana has joined us this evening, but we'll get in touch with them and tell them that, great Australian tradition. They've won the chook raffle and won a chook, and it can be vegetarian if they're vegetarian or something. And Shana, yes, did join us in Boulder. So it was absolutely sensational. As I say, very high quality, and it proves once again there does need to be, of the many research grants for Bi+ people, that research proving a genetic linkage between Bi+ and punning.
Well, that's a wrap pretty much for this conference close event anyway. We do have our conference dinner starting at 7:30, which is only 45 minutes away. Here we go, Bi+. And I hope that those of you who can join us there, just hang out. We'll probably put us, depending on how many people turn up, we might use Zoom, little breakout rooms, so we can have smaller chats than a big group. But look forward to seeing you there. Thank you so much for making this conference such a success. We couldn't have done it without you all. It's been fabulous.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
See you a bit later.
Bye.
Bye.
You everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.